Ever wonder why people turn to metaphysics to figure out their health issues? Well, back in the Han Dynasty, there was a Chinese philosopher named Wang Chong, 1st century CE, and he wrote this famous work called Discourse on Balance. In that book, he said something like this: when we're born, we get this thing called qi, and it sticks with us as we grow. Now, what's this qi thing all about? Qi, sometimes written as qi in English, is like the energy of yin-yang and the 5 elements. When we come into this world, we sort of acquire some cosmic energy from heaven and earth, as in the energy of yin-yang and the 5 elements. When we are born, we start our journey in this world with our inherited qi. Then we go through life, growing and developing. If we're fortunate, things go well for us, but if we're unlucky, we face some tough times. Your wealth and status aren't determined by how you behave or how hard you work as you grow up. Nope, it's all set in stone right from the start, at the time of your birth, the very moment when you let out your first cry after popping out of the womb. That cry marks the creation of Bazi, which represents your birth information. Let's say you were born this current year, 2021. Your Bazi starts with 2 characters, Shincho, the current year's name, which is derived from the sequential combinations of the heavenly stem and the earthly branch. The same 2 characters apply to every other child born in the current year. Then, the next character pair corresponds to the month, similarly the next pair the day, and finally the last pair, the hour of your birth, and there you have it, the 8 characters of your Bazi. It's like your initial inheritance, the cosmic energy of yin-yang and the 5 elements that you receive right at the beginning. This initial inheritance determines whether you'll be rolling in riches or struggling to get by. That's why your first cry is so important. It symbolizes that initial inheritance. But why is it called that? Well, when you were in the womb, your mom took care of everything for you, providing nourishment, breathing, blood circulation, and metabolism. You weren't an independently living back then, but the moment you came out and let out that first cry, that's when your independent life began. It's like the flow of cosmic energy, the yin-yang and 5 elements, kick-started right then and there. Those 8 characters represent it all: metal, wood, water, fire, earth, yin, and yang. It's like a blueprint for your lifetime of wealth and status. To give you a colorful analogy, when each of us is born and cries for the first time, it's like we're expressing the cosmic energy of yin-yang and the 5 elements written in Bazi. Think of these Bazi as a prescription that the heavens give to each of us. Traditional Chinese medicine and metaphysics are 2 peas in a pod. Just like how a Chinese doctor writes a prescription, they rarely use a single herb, it's all about the combo. There's a whole structure to it. They've got the main medicine, which is like the big boss, and then there are the supporting players, the ministers, assistants, and envoys. It's like a squad working together. When you put all these elements together, you've got yourself a medicinal prescription. If you'll come in contact with traditional Chinese medicine, you can take a look at a prescription written by a doctor and more easily understand what it's all about, the ingredients and their properties. You will get to see the ins and outs of traditional Chinese medicine. From someone else's prescription, you can figure out what illness it's targeting because you will recognize the ingredients and their effects. Metaphysics works because the heavens have a personalized prescription for each of us in our Bazi. What we call metaphysics is basically decoding the medicinal properties of this prescription. According to the theory of yin and yang and the 5 elements, when you're born, you inherit this energy called qi, a mix of yin-yang and the 5 elements. Understanding destiny is all about figuring out how these energies relate and combine. First off, you must believe in the concept of destiny. Then comes the big question: can it be predicted? Well, it turns out that your destiny can be predicted, and its secret lies in the yin-yang and 5 elements energy you've got going on when you're born. That's why they call it a science, but the Chinese kind and different from Western sciences. Similarly, Chinese medicine is also a unique science rooted in the yin-yang and five elements theory. Analyzing destiny based on this theory is a legitimate form of Chinese-style science. Why doubt the existence of yin-yang and the five elements energy? During the Song dynasty, they really got into the study of destiny, and they came up with this method called the Four Pillars of Destiny or the Ziping technique, which is still used to this day. Xu Ziping certainly made some massive contributions to this field. Many people remain skeptical about whether destiny is really predictable, and there are a couple of important things to consider. First, let's talk about the time factor in Bazi reading. Many people ask, wouldn't everyone born in the same 2-hour time frame have the same birth chart and therefore the exact same Bazi? Does that mean they all share the exactly same destiny? That's the first question commonly asked. Here is the second question. In 1976, during the Tangshan earthquake, hundreds of thousands of people died overnight. Did their birth charts all predict such a tragic fate? Let's try answering these two questions one by one. Firstly, even when people are born in the same 2-hour time frame, they may not have the same destiny. Whether the person born is a girl or boy makes a big difference. In addition, their birthplace makes a difference, too. If two people are born at the same time and have the same Bazi that is not a good match with water, they do not share the same destiny if one is born in the north and the other south. North corresponds with water, and south corresponds with fire. Therefore, location makes a huge difference. We can't ignore the geographical factor here. Let's say there are two people of the same gender, born in the same place, let's say Shanghai, and at the same time, but there are still some differences in their destiny. Since everything is the same, the Bazi calculations will yield the same results, and their overall paths of destiny remain similar. However, some specifics may differ. For example, when these two individuals turn 19, which is when they prepare for the college entrance exam, if they're lucky, both of them will pass. But whether they end up going to Fudan University or East China Normal University is hard to say and needs further information. Now, let's talk about the second question. The disastrous magnitude 10 Tangshan earthquake can be explained simply. National destiny is more significant than individual fortune. When we analyze someone's birth chart to determine their fate, it assumes a stable society. In a stable state, there shouldn't be massive and disruptive changes. In the case of large-scale disasters, it's impossible for everyone to come out unharmed. Therefore, national destiny takes precedence over individual fate. Even with a good Bazi, there can still be life differences in the face of a national-scale event. Some people manage to survive against all odds, while others perish. An individual whose Bazi doesn't have enough strength will not survive. Unfortunately, that's how they come to realize that. But hey, that's just how national destiny works. That's how I would answer it. Here's another question. How many layers of fate can we see in a Bazi? Well, we can see around 6 to 7 layers, but there's still like 30% to 40% that we can't really figure out. Why is that? There are two reasons: ancestral blessings and the feng shui of our ancestors' graves. Studying destiny is a pretty fascinating subject. From a Bazi, we can determine about 60% to 70% of a person's life stages and get accurate info, but there are still some things we can't see. What's the meaning of ancestral blessings? It's all about the good deeds our ancestors did, like acts of kindness and contributions to society. Those blessings pass down to future generations. There's this saying in China that makes a lot of sense: a family that did good things will leave blessings for posterity. This means that when your ancestors did a bunch of good deeds, those blessings don't happen to your parents, but they pass down to you and even your grandkids. This idea still holds strong among Chinese people today. The Chinese have quite a few traditional holidays that are related to their ancestors. For example, recently we observed the Qingming festival, during which everyone visited the graves of their ancestors. It's a big deal in China. The roads get super crowded on Qingming festival because everyone is out there paying respects to their ancestors. But why do we do it? It's really not for our ancestors, who have already passed away, but it's all for the sake of their grandkids, not ourselves. We're just following the traditions passed down by our own grandparents. That's what it means to come from a family that has a history of doing good deeds. It's our ancestors who accumulated all that goodness, and their blessings keep spreading to their grandkids. Pretty neat, huh? You won't find all this just by looking at a Bazi. Chinese metaphysics is considered a unique science, but what can it tell us about a person's destiny? Well, around 60% to 70% is quite impressive. But what about the rest? Let me break it down for you and demystify Chinese metaphysics a bit. Once you've got the hang of it, you're good to go. First, it's important to know that Ziping Shu, Ziping Bazi, used to be super popular in China, especially during the Ming and Qing dynasties. Many concepts of Chinese metaphysics became widely known. Let me give you an example. Ever heard of Lu Chong? It's a concept that many people are familiar with, even if they're not really into metaphysics. It refers to clashes between Chinese animal zodiac signs that are 6 positions apart. This is common knowledge for the Chinese people, showing how familiar they are with metaphysics. Lu Chong stems from the relationships between different animal zodiac signs. If you draw a diagram matching the 10 heavenly stems with the 10 earthly branches, it will become clear to you: Zi rat, Chou ox, Yin tiger, Mao rabbit, Chen dragon, Si snake, Wu horse, Wei sheep, Shen monkey, Yu rooster, Su dog, Hai pig. That's the Chinese zodiac for you. Now, what clashes with Zi, rat? Zi represents water, and it clashes with Wu, horse, because water and fire don't get along. After all, water and fire can't peacefully coexist, so those born in the year of the rat and the year of the horse clash. Remember these clashes one by one. Now, let's talk about those born in the year of the ox, also known as Chou. Who do they clash with? Well, they don't clash with those born in the year of the sheep, which is Wei. And what clashes with Yin, representing the tiger? It clashes with Shen, monkey. If you're born in the year of the tiger and the year of the monkey, you clash with each other. This was a big deal in ancient China. Nowadays, we're all for love and freedom to choose our partner when it comes to marriage, but back in the day, Chinese folks really believed in Bazi compatibility when it came to marriage. They would analyze the Bazi of both parties to see if they could live together happily ever after. To determine whether someone is a right fit, it was common to seek advice from a fortune teller who specialized in Bazi compatibility. If there were clashes between the zodiac signs that couldn't be resolved, some Bazi experts had tricks up their sleeves to fix it. If two people had zodiac clashes but had other positive aspects in their Bazi, they could find a way to make it work and get married. But if there was no solution, they couldn't be together. This idea has been proven time and again in real-life situations, even between parents and children. If there are clashes, it's not a great idea for them to live under the same roof for too long. It doesn't mean they don't love each other. Clashes don't mean there's no affection. Despite the love, when people with clashes live together, they often face conflicts and challenges. It's not just about the two individuals. Even if a mother loves her child and the child loves their mother, if there are clashes, it's better for them to find separate living arrangements once they reach a certain age, unless there's another family member who can resolve the clashes and bring them back together.